Huck's true intentions have been exposed. But is it too late to matter? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome to We Sibs, West Coast, East Coast siblings, where we talk about your favorite movies and TV shows. Yes, today we're talking episode 9 of The Walking Dead, World Beyond. We've got a lot to talk about today, guys, with pretty much every character having major developments except for Silas. Guys, Felix is injured, the group is scattered, Percy is dying, Huck has been masterminding this whole thing the entire time, and it finally comes down to Hope, who's the smartest person in the room at this point. What is her plan for Huck? So sit back, relax, hit the subscribe and like button, grab whatever leftovers you got, and let's get into it. Okay, so pretty much since the end of last week's episode, all attention has been on Huck, aka Jennifer, as we now know she's working with the Civic Republic and Elizabeth Kublek, which is her mom, so you could assume her name is Jennifer Kublek. She has had an agenda to separate Hope from the rest of the group, and originally, I thought this would be Iris. She would be going after Iris, but Huck trained Hope and has more experience with Hope and grew that relationship with Hope. So while everyone was thinking that Iris was the genius, smart person who was going to be the leader, maybe Huck has always had her eyes on Hope, seeing some potential in her, which we find out as Hope discovers Huck's entire plan, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Now, speaking of Huck's plan, let's tie up the loose ends in this little murder mystery we've been going through the last couple of weeks. It's now safe to assume that Huck killed Tony and shot Percy. Now, we had already pretty much concluded this last week, but the final nail in the coffin was when it was shown that Percy was shot and not just stabbed or injured or bitten in any other way. Now, there was a key frame in this episode when the group was fighting the barbed wire walkers, that's what I'm calling them, and Huck shows her gun and she's got a silencer on it. This means that she easily could have shot Percy without anyone hearing. She could have walked away and then came back later after the body of Tony was discovered. This is later just flat out confirmed when Elton is on a radio conversation with Huck and Percy says, yeah, she shot me. This means that Huck masterfully killed 3 birds with 1 stone. She was able to kill Tony and shoot Percy and frame it all on Silas, who maybe she was counting on his PTSD or trauma of some sort to mess with his recollection of what happened. But that's still a loose end they haven't quite tied up. It doesn't make sense that Silas wouldn't remember what happened. But I do think they'll clean that up later, as Silas was completely absent from this episode, so they'll probably focus a little bit more on him next week. From there, she only had 2 more people to eliminate, and she took a bit of a risk when they were fighting the barbed wire walkers, hitting Felix in the ankle. She doesn't know. Somebody easily could have seen that, but it was dark, and there was chaos, and Iris and Hope were definitely occupied with walkers, so maybe she thought it was a good idea. The second thing is, and I know she's a Marine, but how is she so certain that that injury to his ankle would put him out of the game? I mean, yeah, he wouldn't have been able to run, but they are called walkers, and with some crutches, a gun, an ex-Marine, and 2 people to watch your back, I easily think they could have made the trip. Heck, they could have just put him on some kind of wagon and dragged him around, but I digress. Anyway, speaking of Felix, we get a little bit more insight into his background in this episode. Felix had mentioned a character named Will who had gone in his place when Iris and Hope's dad had gone off to Civic Republic. Felix knew that he had pretty much vowed to take care of Hope and Iris, but it did come at the cost of his relationship with Will. Now, before we get to Hope's mastermind chess-level move in this episode, let's talk about an important moment for Elton in this episode. So after finding out that his mom shot Hope's mother, he goes full-blown identity crisis. He turns his back on his mother, starts ripping up her book. He doesn't know what to think. And even though we didn't get to see the immediate aftermath of what happened when Hope told Elton that she killed his mother, this does shed a little bit more light on how he was kind of in a box. He couldn't really react. It seems he was flabbergasted by what his mom did, and in that moment he couldn't lash out at Hope because of what his own mother did. So as I said, identity crisis. Elton has been living his life for his mother, a woman whose character he now calls into question, and therefore everything about himself. But they wrap this all up in one episode as he's faced with Percy, who's dying, and he not only has to protect him and pull him through to safety, but he's never killed a walker this entire season, fact check me, but he's brought to this moment between a rock and a hard place. He's got to do it. He can either give up on Percy or he can fight, kill some walkers, and let him and Percy live to see another day. So great moment of growth there for Elton. He's a walker killer now. I love the clever way that he fights, using some fishing line and some other clever ways of dealing with the walkers. But that brings us to the radio conversation that Elton has with Huck. And of course, Percy lets him know, that's who shot me. At this point, Huck realizes she may have some trouble and needs to get to Civic Republic as quickly as possible, as Elton, possibly Silas, and Percy, I'm not sure if she overheard Percy talking on the radio, I don't know. But all three of them could be coming after her, so she's got to watch her back. Of course, she already accounted for Felix and Iris following them, but again, that kind of defeats the point. I thought Felix couldn't travel, but now because of plot. And that brings us finally to the mastermind, Hope. We always thought it was Iris, guys, but she was able to decipher. I don't even know what she was doing. She was seemed like she was playing a crossword puzzle while triangulating certain longitudes and latitudes, whatever, smart stuff. She decoded some kind of secret message from the Civic Republic that says, Raft in bed agent en route to New York with asset, +4. All 4 are expendable. Now, something they'll have to clear up. I don't know how Hope knows that the asset is her. I mean, she obviously thinks Iris is smarter than her, so I don't know why she wouldn't assume that Iris was the asset and that she needed to protect her. At the same time, she was probably testing this when she straight up said, Huck, let's leave in the middle of the night, because if she refused, she would know the asset was Iris. If she went along with it, she would know the asset was her. Either way, she takes Felix's gun, and it seems she's going to try and off Huck on her own. Now, one thing I don't understand, if you realize all this, why not just take Felix's gun as you had, hold her right at gunpoint, and wake everybody else up so you could deliberate and figure out what to do with Huck? I don't know, maybe she thought that Huck would be slick and find a way to manipulate Felix and their bond and their trust and get out of it. But we'll see what she ends up doing, because while I think it's very smart how she found this all out, I think it's very dumb to go off with a Marine by yourself. At this point, she may just be blinded by the desire to find her father, no matter where that takes her. But guys, we won't really know for sure until episode 10, so let me know your predictions down in the comments, and of course be sure to subscribe and click the bell so that you don't miss when that episode comes out. Of course, like the video if you like the video, and be sure to check out our sister channel, The La Quente Ledger. We've got more awesome content over there. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you for episode 10. Peace.